G'day and welcome back to yet another episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups. On this episode we have a very awkward angle of me filming whilst driving, but we are going to experience a straight cut gearbox in Grace for the very first time. Alright folks, so that is the end of the episode. Yes, I'm standing here looking like a news reporter because I could not be bothered to wire up my wireless microphone. So as you saw, I did have a heap of footage available from the run that I did in Grace today, but unfortunately because it is so loud inside her, it did make it quite hard to properly be able to hear all the material that I got. So essentially one of the first things that I noticed when I drove Grace was the length in which I can really push first gear to. So in that scene at the very start, just after the opening credits, you see me rev the absolute ringer out of it. Now, this was probably only revved to about 5,500 RPM, and I was hitting 60 k's an hour, which is still fairly substantial considering the original Gearbox, I probably was able to do 35, 40 k's an hour, really just pushing it, depending, the sort of situation that I was in, if I was trying to race someone or if I just wanted to give it a bit of stick. So the first thing is definitely noticeable in regards to how high or how tall first gear is. So not only that, but also the whine in which the car made. The whine is just absolutely incredible. It sounds like you got a supercharger on it, and I find myself driving this thing on and off first and second gear simply because of the absolute noise that it makes. It sounds absolutely incredible, and probably one thing to take away from this is if you're going to do this modification to your car, and it doesn't have to be a Mini or a Moke, it could be, a Toyota 86, it could be a Supra, it could be a Hyundai Excel, whatever it is, something to really consider is the amount of noise that the car is likely to make. Now, in fourth gear, it was absolutely perfect. It had a bit of drone for the exhaust, but that's fairly standard. Because fourth gear is 1-to-1, it means that it really quietens down. So fourth gear was certainly a bit of a blessing. Third gear, it did have a little bit of stick and a little bit of whine to it, but it wasn't overly stupid. So definitely consider having this in your car if you're going to be driving it on a daily basis. Because I drive Grace every now and again, because she's on historic plates, I get to choose when I get to drive it, which means when it rains, I don't get wet. When it's hot, I don't remain hot. I have several other cars in which I can drive in my fleet, which enable me to remain nice and cool or nice and warm depending on what the weather's like. But it is certainly a modification worthwhile making and worth the investment. Although it is quite expensive to do, it is something worthwhile doing if you're looking for that added bit of performance. Now the next step after this would be to do a set of drop gears, straight cut drop gears should I say, because this then enables absolutely every movement you do to be super whiny. Now that's probably something that you'd want to do in a race car or something that you're not driving very often, simply because it does really amplify the amount of noise the vehicle makes in any gear regardless of what you're doing. So it just depends on what you're using the car for, whether it's me for instance who just drives it every now and again, does a Rolston Classic and then that's it, parks up in the garage, or someone for instance like Self-Frustration Society who drives a car every single day. How we doing, Rowan? It's one of those things where you really got to choose what you're going to do. I have known and heard of people to have pulled the gearboxes out, done a full straight cut gearbox conversion, even a set of drop gears, put it all back together, drive the car for 300 kilometers and go, I absolutely hate this thing. I need to take this thing back out. So it is not only a lot of money to install it and to buy the kit, but also to pull it all back apart and stick the original stuff back in. With mine, it was a bit of dicking around because I did convert it from an A series gearbox to an A plus gearbox, which wasn't overly hard, but as you saw in the previous videos, or if you haven't already, make sure you check them out coming out soon. It was one of those things where I really just had to modify the absolute crap out of it to make it work. It's not hard, it's certainly doable, you just need extra bits and pieces to be able to do it, and it's certainly something you got to attack yourself depending how much mechanical knowledge and skills you have. But all in all, I like it. It sounds cool, it pulls first gear like nothing else. It just has a really nice whine to it, and from what I've heard in every single kit that's available is that every single one sounds slightly different. So for instance, my mate in the UK, Paul Jeffries, he has built his own car as well as his mate's car with the exact same setup, engine, gearbox, everything, and they just sound different. I don't know what it is. Somehow maybe the way that the gears manufactured, maybe the way that they intermesh, maybe it's just the wear on one compared to the others, maybe it's the bearings, whatever it may be, they do sound different. So I'm really excited to see how this thing goes in the longevity of having Grace over the many, many years to come, and eventually giving to my son Jackson. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know there wasn't a lot of talking until the very end, but all in all, it is a worthwhile investment. As I said, it is quite expensive, but it is definitely worth doing if you're looking for that next bit of performance. While you're there, you might as well do a center oil pickup like I did as well, because it just means that when the oil sloshes to one side, you're not going to run the engine completely dry like you would with a standard oil pickup. Hope you're enjoying the episodes, guys. We have plenty coming up on the Morris Minor soon. If I haven't already uploaded them, make sure you check them out, and if not, they will be coming soon. So guys, like always, please stay COVID safe, and I'll see you right here on another episode of Tomo's Tune Ups.